parents come to us or admin come to us because they're desperate in need. You can't complain about something unless you're going to go actively go do something, right? You know, the Angel was one of the students who she got attacked like badly. Like someone made a fake page called I Hate Angel. The first one who responded back to us was Twitter, and Twitter was like, "You're 100% right. Can we have a call?"
Love Gangster with Adrian Boysel.
Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the Love Gangster. I'm your host, Adrian Boysel, and today I have a very special episode because of a very special guest who is one of the ultimate love gangsters. She's a powerful entrepreneur, powerful founder of a company called Digital for Good, an organization at digitalforgood.net and icanhelp.net. She's impacting students, youth, adults, parents, teachers, and organizations all over the planet like Google, Cooley Law Firm. She has done an amazing amount of work over the last decade of her career, helping people stay safe online and actually create a better and more positive environment through education and a lot of the different initiatives I'll let her share. She has trained over 475,000 students. She's impacted over 12.5 million people, and she has over 250 active interns in various programs from year-long programs to seasonal programs. She is an award-winning teacher. She has a master's degree, and she's just all around an absolute love gangster and an amazing person. So with that all being said, I want to introduce you to our guest, Miss Kim Karr. Let's go ahead and jump in.
Yes, let's go. Let's go, Love Gangster.
That's right.
I'm ready.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for being here. It's awesome. I appreciate the opportunities that you've given me to come and speak to your youth in New York at Google and Cooley Law Firm. That was an incredible experience.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We are so honored. I mean, this nonprofit's been around for 10 years, and it's just neat to see how it's massively grown because students feel it and see that there's an issue. And we're finally getting adults to see the need that is definitely needed right now.
Absolutely. So kind of giving people a little bit more context of who you are. Tell us about your background, where are you from, and how did this all come to be? Yeah.
Well, I'm a Midwestern native. I born in St. Louis, Missouri. Raised in Iowa, went to Upper Iowa University, go Peacocks, and wanted to get a teaching job. I actually did a phone interview. Never had been to California, but all my athlete friends were from California. Did a phone interview to get my first teaching job, and got it. And so my mom and I drove out here, taught at a middle school for 13 years, started seeing all the issues that were happening on these devices. This is back in like '09. Just the rise of phones just kept getting bigger and bigger, and then they just kept coming with all these different issues. And I was like, oh, there's something going on here. We need to kind of fix this. And I'm all about teaching people how to be kind online. So the summer camp that I was actively teaching at, because I was a leadership teacher, they were like, hey, can you teach a digital etiquette course? And I'm like, ugh, like I don't like technology. And they go, yeah, but you can teach them how to be good people. So I was like, oh, we had this situation happen at my school. I'd be happy to kind of share it. What happened was someone made a fake Facebook page. One of my teachers at my school went on for over 2 weeks. My school only has 500 students, but there were 1,000 people following it. Because that's the power of social media, right? Is that you can have 1,000 people if you go and quickly tell your friends, right?
That's right.
And so finally one student turned this in, and I said, well, hey, why didn't you tell anybody? And they go, honestly, I didn't want to get made fun of.
Wow.
Right? And I was like, oh, well, you probably are. You probably are going to get made fun of because that's what this generation does, is they make fun of people who are doing the right thing.
That's true.
And so I started like talking about it, and I go, but like you told me you never want anyone to make a page on you. So we need to start having more people's back. And then other students were like, well, we don't really like this teacher. How many of you guys have had a teacher you didn't really like?
Plenty, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I got plenty of those.
And so then I was like, but how many of you guys had a teacher you did like, but for whatever reason, one of your friends didn't like them? Everyone's got different opinions. So I started just talking about that. And then it just kind of came out of like, well, they didn't know what to do, right? They didn't know in these situations of like how to report, what to go do. And so I just started actively showing it. And then I'm like, you got to respectfully comment. Some of them didn't want to comment because then they were afraid of the backlash. I said, well, but what if you texted your friends to also comment? Because now you're not the only one who's commenting, right? So a year later, someone made a fake Instagram page of the exact same teacher. And because I had walked them through these like simple steps, they actually did it. And it was shut down in under 45 minutes. And over 40 plus students commented in favor of taking it down.
Wow.
It wasn't Instagram who took it down. It was 100% the student, because it basically got peer pressured of like, oh, this isn't cool.
Busted. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And so like from that, it just became like people kept asking me, can you come to my school, come to my school? I then started reaching out to the tech companies because I kept looking at, when I was trying to help schools report things, I was like, it's like 13 steps back, and like I said, 09, 10. It was 13 steps to report anything, and they were using really big words. I had no clue what they meant.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, if I can't figure this out as the adult that I am, how are you expecting teenagers to help report? And how do you expect when someone's in an emergency situation, when a nude gets leaked out about their teenager, right? How, like when these like suicide threats are going on, like what are you going to do? So ironically, the first one who responded back to us was Twitter, and Twitter was like, you're 100% right. Can we have a call? And I wasn't expecting that, right, to have a call from Twitter. And then they actually came out and saw what I was doing to teach students, and then asked me to be on their trust and safety team. Wow. And then from there, since I got on that one, that just kind of opened up the doors to other companies, right?
Wow.
Of that, and so it just became this domino effect to bridge the gap.
And that started off from the hashtag I can help delete negativity. Is that?
Yeah. So I when we came up with the concept back then, like in 09, it was a lot of like conversations about bullying. Like that was such a hot topic, and I just, as a teacher, kids don't like talking about things when it's over talked by adults. You know, there's like key words that adults use where kids are like, right? So when you overuse bullying, I didn't want anything to do with bullying. And so I made it as into a call to action of like, let's call it I Can Help, because that's basically what it is. And then my co-founder, Matt Soth, he was like, let's put the hashtag in front of it, because that's when the hashtags were just coming out, because that means it's a tech, tech thing.
That's right.
Well, then when we made it into a nonprofit back in 2013, it was called I Can Help, but then companies kept asking us, well, what do you do to help? Like, what do you do? So we created an event called Digital for Good, where we recognize people who are using Digital for Good. So now, just a year ago, we've legally changed it to Digital for Good. And then underneath Digital for Good is our 3 I Can Help branches of I Can Help Educate, which is our curriculum, courses, and our trainings. I was just in a couple schools today here in Roseville, speaking to students, and then it's I Can Help Engage, which is our events and our webinars and our social media platform, and then it's I Can Help Empower, which is our internship and mentoring program that we do, because everyone needs to help to be able to make Digital for Good. Beautiful.
That's amazing. Powerful. I am humbled that there are people out there that have just, I mean, what do you think is it about your personality that just like pushed you to just like, I want to step up and do this?
Yeah, well, that's a, great question. Number one, I don't like when people complain they don't do anything. You can't complain about something unless you're going to go actively go do something, right?
That's right.
And so everyone just kept saying like, oh, teenagers on their phones, right? Like everyone complains. Yeah. And it's like, you can't complain unless you're going to do something. So I think that was a big one. I just kept seeing the upscale of how rude people were getting, even adults, and how these fake pages, hate pages, really passive aggressive text messages, people asking for nudes, they were sending nudes, and then not knowing how to handle it. So I don't want to complain about these things if we're not going to go and like do something about it. So I think that's a big one. And I've always liked a good challenge.
That's a big challenge.
Yeah, a big challenge. I got held back when I was in 3rd grade.
Okay.
And so I think people always tell you, you're not good enough, or you're not good.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also played my freshman year in college. I was supposed to be on a soccer team, women's soccer team.
Okay.
And they didn't have enough, so then they asked me to come play on the guys team, try out for the guys. It was me and like 5 girls, and I was the only one selected.
Wow.
So it was one of those things where it's like I've constantly been thrown these like kind of crazy challenges, and
high
like,
achiever,
let's go.
high performer.
Yeah, just like, hey, how do we make this into something? So
that's neat.
I don't know. Nothing's bigger than the World Wide Web, I guess.
So out of the last decade for you, you've got a decade long of doing this. What is the shining moment? What is like the biggest achievement or biggest like value for you? Just the payback for all the work and time and effort and money you've poured into this. What is the biggest thing for you that you feel has been achieved in the last 10 years?
Well, it's all the little moments that add into big moments, right? Yeah. It's the students who come to us to get help, or even when the parents come to us or admin come to us because they're desperate in need. That they're like, we have this big situation and we don't know what to do, right? So it's everything from the beginning. It was the angel was one of the students who she got attacked like badly. Like someone made a fake page called I Hate Angel. And it was like, hundreds and hundreds of kids are following this. Well, can you imagine at 12 years old when someone makes I Hate Angel page on you, right? Like how that affects you. And you know how it goes. It's like you can have 100 people make a comment of saying I love you, but then it takes one person to say that one negative thing to affect you, right? And no wonder why mental health is such a big issue. There is a lot of connection with why anxiety and depression and suicide have increased, and there's a lot of connections back to the devices, right? Because we're just misusing them. So it's little things from that to help kids to understand how to take that down to, now helping students at our Digital for Good event who, Tavi has her mental health, like selling mental health books because she saw that this is, and so here she is at, 14, and she's writing a book and then selling it and then using social media and getting on news stations to talk about mental health and what you can do at her age, right? So it's everything from those little moments to bigger moments to community moments of bringing people together.
Yeah, the fact that you've created not just an organization that's a nonprofit and helping people, but taken these youth and turned them into ambassadors and kindness ambassadors or whatever you want to call them there. The fact that you've empowered them to become these voices for change and the future generations, which that'll affect their children and hopefully their children. And like this generational thing that you've created here, I think is just so powerful and so neat. Are you a parent? Like what gave you kind of the inspirations? Like, I want to get these kids involved.
Yeah. I'm not a parent. I have a cat, so I guess that's a parent. I get to be a fur mom, I guess. But and I parent myself, which that's hard.
Yes, right.
To do.
Adulting.
But I'm a proud aunt, and so I think with the interns that come on board and the students that I do things, they always like you push off cool aunt vibes. So that's kind of the role that I feel like I get to have is the cool aunt vibes. And I think my nieces were a big reason of the why, because it was what started when they were at that age, and so started seeing it. My niece, when she was in 8th grade, she did get asked for her nudes, pictures of nudes, and she did send them. She had to go into the police station with all of her devices. The young man who was charged, he was 18, he worked in the movie theater, was asking other girls for images. He did get she got a charge because she created it, right? So you get a charge for that. Anybody who sent it out got a charge, but this guy, because he was collecting them from several minors and he was over 18, he did get some jail time, which is kind of things. But so that was definitely that was 2 years into it, kind of gave you more of the why. And then now I get students that come, they've got all kinds of stories. That some of them have moved in. One, their mom died of cancer and was a single mom, so she moved with me for a couple months to help her support. She's in college and it was during COVID. Another one moved in with me for a few months to kind of help them get on their thing. So I don't know, I feel like I get to be that guidance person for them. But it's neat because it's even on a national level, and most of them I don't meet them because it's all done virtually. I get to meet some of them I meet in person, but a lot of them I don't.
That's right. Well, I can tell just by the event that you had and all the students how much they love you, and you are like a mother figure, parent figure, aunt figure to them. And you could see the glimmer in their eyes when you were speaking up on stage, and I was like, these kids are just like, you're their hero, right? It's the coolest thing to watch. And I know that's not why we do it, but it is the gift and the reward for being able to pour out and loving on people. What are some of the things that you do? Because you're constantly, as very similar to me, you're constantly giving to people and serving other people and performing and achieving. How do you take care of yourself and all of that? Because some of the stuff that I've heard and some of the stuff that you shared is heavy, or there's some heavy stuff in there. So how do you make sure that you're still being able to operate from a place where your cup is overflowing to be able to serve these kids and serve this movement?
Yeah, well, I think the big reason, going back on that track of what you saw at our Digital for Good event at Google, is the reason why these students love it is because I'm giving them a platform that they can share their message and their passion, because these are students who do love to serve. And so it's more that I'm helping them to be able to let them be the leaders, and I allowing them, right? Yeah. I try to be in the back, and that they get the spotlight and they're getting to shine, right? And so I think that one moment where I'm actually on stage, they're like, oh, finally she's.
Yes, exactly.
It's not us.
They're like, yeah, exactly.
Because they know that I can, but it's like, no, I always like to back off and let them take the lead, because I want them to show how, again, it's all about they can be the leaders of this generation of pushing it. I'm a first generation immigrant with this.
Yeah,
right?
for
Like
sure.
I'm not native to this. They are.
That's right.
And so we need each other, right? So we are trying to work together on that. And so it is, yeah, there is a lot of, there's a lot of stories. So I think the big one that I'll do, of course, it's like, you have to I chart time on my calendar of blocking out time of like, this is like, on when is it? Thursday, I'm doing a massage.
Nice.
And that's a new thing to me that my doctor was like, it needs to be a monthly thing. And I'm not always the best at it. That's one. And it's also, one of my goals this year is to have more outside time because this is a lot to have a lot of device time. So, because it is work. But I'm definitely keeping track of like my outside time because that's when I do the best is when I'm disconnected and I'm able to
in nature and
have the outside. If it's everything from hiking, walking, running to pickleballing to.
I was going to ask if you did the pickleball.
Yeah, frisbee golf, you name it.
Oh, I love disc golf.
Right?
So frisbee golf is so much
it.
fun. Very cool. So I know from when I came into the picture, it hasn't been that long, but Digital for Good event and the summit and you're doing monthly events and you have a community on Discord. Like give some people kind of a background if they're like, wow, this sounds interesting to me. I want to learn more about it. Give them a little bit of a background of Digital for Good and kind of some of the ways and things that you're doing in order to kind of reach people and reach these kids and empower these kids.
Yeah. Well, the first way we started reaching out to students was we would go to these schools. So again, today we were at a couple schools here in Roseville, middle schools, and then I went down to the sixth graders. So the original way is they would see us present and then they would come and join and be an intern with us. And now, because we've gotten so big, right now it's open where students can come and reach out to us. So the students are trying to get them to come and join us. And every month they have monthly meetings where their teams are working on projects. There's 2 internship programs. It's middle school to college can be on the annual side. They're really focused on like the student-led, student-run, student initiative projects so that they can have conversations about like, you need to be safe. They're also talking about like deep fakes. Like deep fakes are a real thing right now, right? Huge. So they're trying to get students to understand like you can't believe every single thing you see on the internet, right? But in a cool way. Like, so it's not like lame of the passwords, keep your password safe. So I've had students tell me like, oh yeah, I saw a YouTube video about you and about your organization. I wanted to join, right? So they're finding us from other people or their teachers are telling it, right? So from the student perspective, that's what's happening. And then, every month they can do what's called Students for Good. And that's where they get to do a 3-minute pitch about either, a lot of them have nonprofits or they have some project they're doing, anything from podcasts to, like a suicide prevention walk that they've done in their community, right? Wow. And so they come on these to do a 3-minute pitch to then share. We give them the spotlight. We make a video for them. We make a blog about them. We make a press release for them so that they can take it back and then be recognized like they should.
Oh, cool.
And then the whole goal is that other people come on to get inspired by them to then copy what they do, right?
Similar to like Irene with normalizing the conversation.
Yeah. And then same thing is, so that's our miniature Digital for Good. And then Digital for Good is where they get nominated, they can nominate themselves, and then they get mentors beforehand. They get a virtual mentor before. And then we had the event this year at Google in New York City, which Adrian was at. He would get to be a shark.
That's right.
Where it's just like the Shark Tank, TV show. And so they go, and so then they have a mentors there. They get to rotate to different mentors, and then they get to go into a Shark Tank to pitch their sharks about their project. If the shark wants to work with them afterwards, then they get to kind of do that. And so which student picked you?
Irene.
And what was her project?
Normalizing the conversation. She has a social media profile where she's got a really big following, but creating basically like a blog and a forum where people can have these heartfelt conversations, share their pain, share their struggles, and it was really inspiring. And I've done 2 calls with her, mentorship calls with her now, and she's just so sharp. And I mean, I give her a change to make, and before I even like finish saying what I'm saying, I refresh her Instagram, and she's already made the change on her profile, and I'm like, wow, like she's so fast to implement. And that was the thing I noticed is somehow you've curated not just kids and not just like entrepreneurial, world-changing kids, but kids that have like just this change maker, like they're quick to implement, they're quick to listen. Even Joe the gamer, such an amazingly think about like how many books he's put out and how many projects he's got going all at the same time, and I'm like, he's just an action taker. Like, how do you find these kids? Like when you're doing the internship and you're going through that process of like filtering through them, like how do you determine between the kids that are just like kind of interested versus the ones that are like action takers? What is it to you that Like, how do you?
I mean, Joe the gamer. Okay, first, Arlene is. I think she's a junior in high school. So let's make sure you guys understand like the age, and they are everything from. We try to have them be 13 because that's how old you're supposed to be on social media, up to college level. So about 26, I think, is our cutoff because there are some older kids who are still in college and they need that support. Yep. Honestly, they find us. So Joe the gamer is a perfect example. He's actually 11.
So wow.
He just turned 11, but when he came to us at the Digital for Good event, he was only 10. He came to us because he found out he lives in New York City. He's a huge baseball fan, and so Aaron Judge from the Yankees is one of our ambassadors. Yep. So he got recognized for that because he is using social media because he has a nonprofit. He has over 500,000 people following him on his Instagram account. Joe the Gamer is his Instagram thing. And he was getting targeted. He was getting attacked. He was getting harassed because people his age are jealous because he has a following. But his nonprofit raises over $100,000 and uses a lot of it for kids who have cancer. He takes them games so that they can game while they're in the hospital because he had cancer. That's right. So these students actually find us mostly. I don't really find them. They find us because, again, we're giving kids platforms that they can get their message out. And just like an adult, like, won't you love it when you actually have someone, you're in the room with people who, like, can talk about entrepreneurship, right? Like, it's just, it's leveling up.
Like-minded and like-hearted,
And so I think whenever they're in that room with other students who are like them, because they're in this, if you think about it, they go to public school probably, some of them go to private, but they go to public school with, let's just say, 1,000 people. There's maybe 10 other people who might be like them, and did they find each other?
Wow.
But when you come here, they're finding like-minded kids who are doing it, and some of them, I'll be honest with you, some of their projects weren't the best, but they leveled up quickly because they saw the other students.
That's right.
And then they started talking to their mentors, and the mentors helped them level up, and they've never gotten that help from people that can help them get to that point.
Proximity and environment. You create a great environment with kids like that, and then you put them in proximity with mentors and other people who are action takers. It's just bound to have incredible results.
Yep.
That's really neat. So transitioning a little bit to kind of what you're currently working on and doing, you've invited me to be more involved and active in the organization, which I'm super excited about, and just pulling in all the resources you can, right? You got me, you got Tony, you got Ash, you got rock stars at the table. What does the future hold? What's your kind of big picture vision? You've never shared the biggest picture and the biggest goal that you have, but like, where do you want to see all of this? What is the legacy? Are you passing this on to somebody? Are you like, what is your dream for Digital for Good and I Can Help?
I mean, there's still a lot of work to do. There's still jerks online, right? So I think it's basically is we need more people, especially adults, to come on because we have over 180 kids on a regular basis that are wanting to do something, and we just don't have that many adults. Yeah. And let me tell you, it's like herding cats. Like, there's a lot of them that have tons of ideas, but it's how do you keep their ideas like in one place, right?
That's true.
And so we need more adults that can come help us because that way they can go talk to some people who have done what they've done. A lot of them are wanting, they're working on press releases, and still have not figured out how to do to get the right news, media coverage behind what we're doing. Because here's the thing, we are not newsworthy because we are too positive.
Yeah, because people want the hate, the negativity, and the drama. Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that a minute ago, how like you post one negative comment on somebody's, like I made a comment on, I think it was Jake Paul or Logan Paul's thing, and it was just kind of like lightly trolling and making fun of whatever he had posted. He posted a video of Mikey or something like that. I made a funny comment. 40,000 people liked that comment. And I don't ever post, I've done it like 3 times ever. I've posted something negative or like critical of somebody and never get any likes. And then I make the one post and over 38,000 people like that. And I was like, dude, it's crazy how negativity and like hating on people, how fast that spreads.
Yeah, it's because people get sucked into that, right? They get sucked into negative drama. They don't get sucked into the positive stuff. So I think the first vision is getting more adults to help us to be able to get this, because we need to get the training out to more students in schools, especially the low income one. I mean, they're having so many issues, and there's even tiny schools that they need support. We do have a trainer model where I went on a tour in Kansas for 2 weeks, and I went to 14 schools, but then what happens is 50 plus schools come to one school. We're training those student leaders with our curriculum and our trainings, and then they're able to go back. So that's how we're able to get more power. So it's even getting companies like the Googles, like the, I don't know, CDWs, to want to help host those kind of things, because then, like, who doesn't want to go see those kind of companies? Because you can't be something unless you see something.
That's right.
So then that way it's getting students to actually see, like, oh, I want to go work for these big tech companies. There's even more, jobs are being created, because, like, I don't know what some of these kids are going to be, because there's new jobs that are getting kind of created. So I think those are some big ones. The other one I'm working on right now that's like definitely in the next couple of years is policy. Policy needs to be made. So I'm working with the states. Every state is different. So trying to work with Missouri's School Board Association, because they're the ones who help make the policy for schools.
Yep.
The Missouri Admin Association. I didn't realize that they don't talk. You would think they do, but they don't.
That's weird.
Right? Like, they just don't talk. And then you work with the Missouri Mental Health Organization, which then they're connected. They're actually working together as the the Missouri Department of Ed.
Wow.
So getting all four of them to actually communicate, and the Missouri resource officers.
Wow.
So I'm trying to work with them on what policy we need to create in a smaller state.
Got it.
And then come back to California and, like, do the same thing. We do have connections with the Department
Show kind of what
Ed.
the model was.
Of what policies need to get created, but then also then take them, that those states, those organizations can go to their state legislators and be like, there needs to be an age requirement.
Yeah.
Because it's money to Google and it's some money to TikTok. I mean, that's why TikTok is getting banned, because they're not keeping our students safe. Information is being shared, but there's no ID. So, like, your kid is, underage and they can't have a site, but they don't have an ID.
That's right.
So, like, how can we make sure when they do get to a certain age, when they want to play Roblox,
That's
be
right.
probably the first thing, or Minecraft,
True.
your kid needs to have some kind of a form of, because they're lying. A lot of parents are
Oh, yeah, of
lying
course.
because they just want their kid to be in it, right?
right.
So I think that's another big vision, is getting it so it can get a lot of policy
Interesting.
behind what needs to happen, because that way people can actually follow rule. I mean, you have to be 16 to drive.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that is a rule.
I mean, I did.
But no one knows the rule. Yeah, you probably do.
I was driving a little before I was supposed to be driving without a license. But I'm the rebel, and that was like part of like a question I was going to ask. Like, do you feel like the government is the best entity to be creating these policies and to try to create these laws around what age and verifying? Like, have you seen success in that? And like, what do you think could be done outside of the government with parents? Like, do you think obviously it's a shared responsibility, right? Like the government can only do so much and the parents can only do so much. Like, how do you see the government fitting into this, and like local, whatever city or state governments kind of fitting into all that?
Yeah, and trust me, it scares the crap out of me talking about policy.
Yeah.
I am not a political
For sure.
person, and I used to, like, steer away from it as much as possible.
Yeah.
But now, I will be honest with you, I feel like this really is the only way, because they're tech companies. They only want about money.
It's true.
So when they're getting sued right now because they're not keeping our teens safe, their big thing is, like, we are doing the things, but we need parents to start doing it. But parents won't do it unless there is a law of what they have. And there has been cases where the Michigan school shooter, he just got his parents just got 10 to 15 years.
Whoa.
Because there was so much texting going on that they knew he had mental health issues, and they still bought him a gun, right? And they didn't keep it safe. They didn't lock it up. So they were actually broke policy, right?
Yeah.
So now they can actually lock up the parents for being negligence of their kid, who they knew as a parent, you should have some kind of responsibility for your kids of who they harm.
Yeah.
And they're getting harmed on these devices. So there needs to be some kind of a thing, because if, let's just say one company does it, we'll just use TikTok because they're the ones that are getting, if they lock it down, no one's going to go to that, because there's going to be people like you,
The rebels.
the rebels, who are going to be like, well, screw that, app.
Yep.
I'm going to go over here who doesn't have so many rules,
That's
right?
exactly right. They're just
So there
gonna
just needs to
find a
be
way.
some kind of a thing, just like we have it for driving. Like, there needs to be some kind of a thing saying, like, this is the age you can have where they can chat and have conversations.
Yeah, I love that, but I also fear that at the same time. There's like a kind of a scary point in that, because like it reminds me of like what China's doing with the social credit score and like the control that they're implementing over like what they post and how they post, and like if you're posting negatively or positively,
Sure.
like there's like that line, but like there's a difference between like safety, right, and keeping kids safe and keeping children safe specifically, but yeah, there's that line. So that I think that's going to be, for me personally, I feel like where my responsibility as a parent is to do the best job that I can to educate, just like we go to church on Sundays and we get together in small groups and things like that with our church communities. Like, we should be getting together with other parents and like having these conversations and letting them know, like, this is the stuff that's happening with my kid. My kid just had this happen, but like, people are so disconnected and have kind of gone into themselves now, especially with social media. I mean, how many parents are just doing this all day while their kids are sitting there watching TV? Their TV is the babysitter, right? So like, I'm trying to figure out in my mind, like, how do you help parents educate the parents to be able to go that direction, to be like, hey, this is a serious problem. Make them more, I think, awareness, right? Not just seeing school shootings and seeing all that stuff, but like, how do you make them aware of this actual problem?
Well, I mean, like I said, I was at the school today, and they had a huge case. Let's just say a lot of kids were being suspended, expelled. A couple of them are being expelled because of some kind of a sexting, huge, scandalous kind of a thing, right? Middle school, 7th and 8th graders. 20 of the students, this was going down. They all came back to school after their day suspension. They all still had their phones. Whoa. You know what I mean? Like, so again, like, I'm not trying to shame a parent, because it is really hard to parent now in this digital age, but there are a lot of parents who would have just taken away and they wouldn't have given it back, but it's a lot harder. Like, they don't want to consequence them. So parents need to be involved. So one thing we are going to be doing is we're doing like a lunch with a loved one, where we're actually going to have it where at lunch they can bring food in for their kid. We'll sit down and then we actually do some of the fun activities where they have to do it on their phone. And it brings up, like, is your locations on? Who are you actually texting? Are you texting inappropriate things? In a fun way, we gamify it. But then it's having them get to have conversations with their kid, because I just think parents do need to be the ones who do help with this conversation and steer it, because it is, you know, they are responsible, right? And we just need to keep pushing as adults to. But we're not very good at it. I mean, you see how adults are online.
Exactly.
And so we're not being great role models.
That's true. I think just being a better role model in general. I'm very strict with my daughter when it comes to any kind of social media. Obviously, she's not on social media, but at 5 years old, YouTube is a big thing, right? I think that's kind of like the precursor to social media, right? And some of these videos, I watched one video where they were putting something, they said something in the video, they did something, and I was just like, oh, it was a whole skit they put together where the daughter was like completely disobeying what the mom was saying, and they were making it a joke. And they did it over and over and over again in this one episode, and I was like, that show is done. And my daughter was like, no, I love Adley. And I was like, no. And so like, I'm trying to like set those boundaries with her now and be like, there's things that are okay for you to watch and there's things that are not. And then like 2 weeks later, I have a little Nest next to my bed that tracks asleep and all that. And I caught her up there. I'm like, where's Sunny? I was like 10, 15 minutes went by. I'm like, where's Sunny at? And she was up in the room watching Adley from the little Nest next to my TV, using it as a little TV. And I was like, my little rebel, right? Little mischief, that's what we say. And so like being able to kind of teach it is you still have to supervise, you still have to watch and pay attention to what's going on. And I think my guess, I'm just going to make an assumption here, but I guess a lot of parents want to be more active and want to be more aware of the situation that's going on and some of the real issues that are happening. And I think that one documentary is on Netflix, Social Dilemma. I think that opened up a lot of people, thankfully. But I think there's more stuff that needs to be created, more content that needs to be created. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to bring to Digital for Good, is more of the content creation stuff like this, where they can watch and learn and hear from these kids themselves, help these kids start their own YouTube channels, help them, make more noise and create what I call dramatic demonstrations, right? Marketers are all about creating these dramatic demonstrations. Well, these kids can make dramatic demonstrations and leverage marketing to spread this message of like, hey, safety is important and these things are happening, which I think would be really fun to work on with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that is, happening, right?
Yeah.
When you said that about your daughter, I think that's why we're in such a weird place, because every family has, when does it cross the line of inappropriate for our family?
That's right.
Right? And so you are like, you talking back to me, that is 100% super inappropriate in our family.
That's right.
Where in other families, that's a normal thing. So I think all these families are having to have a hard time navigating because they don't know where does that line. So it's like, I tell parents, it's kind of like teaching your kid how to read. There's no way of speeding it up. Wow. You have to literally sit with them and take the time and sound out those words to be able to get them to read. It's annoying.
Yeah.
And you want to shout out the word, but that's the only way you can teach them how to use these devices, is you have to literally sit with them side by side is this negative? Is this positive? Is this appropriate for our family? Is this inappropriate for our family?
Yeah.
And I think we're in a weird space because so many people think everything is, somebody might think this is inappropriate, another person's like, oh, I think that's fine,
Subjective
right?
and- yeah.
Very subjection is like so blurred. England and France, what they're doing, I think this is interesting. They're making laws around influencers, people who are online and they do have a following. If they share anything that is fake, if it's like a deep fake or some kind of a misguided information, they actually get sued. So there is that way. It's getting them back to. I mean, think about it. When I was growing up, there was only like 4 newscasters. So there's like 4 newscasters, and you had to make sure that they were actually real, right?
Yeah.
Now there's so many content creators. It is hard. Like, do you really want to keep making more and more content creators, because now it's like everything is so blurred, you don't know what to follow.
Yeah, and like you said, the deep fakes with AI and having these fake influencers that are popping up there, they're making $10,000-$20,000 a month as just completely artificial using it's called RenderNet.
Yep.
And kind of cracking down on some of that stuff, I think would be really valuable, because they're going to have AI assistants that you're going to be able to have conversations with that are going to need to know like what's appropriate to speak to a child and what's not. How are you going to regulate all that? So there's so much coming in the future with AI that I see, and so I'm just grateful to kind of come alongside and support what you guys are doing and try to help spread this message to as many people as I can.
Yeah, well, let's do it, because I got a call from Newsweek, right, the other day. And you're like, oh, right, and you're super honored, and you get all these different things. Well, then when you have the call with them, guess what? You pay. You have to pay to be able to get it. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is a nonprofit. The money is, students are helping us lead this. You should be paying us to be able to feature us. I mean,
right. You are the product.
Yeah, but I think that's where all these things are coming at, is they're getting paid by so much, right? So it is like all of our followers are all real. All of our stuff we've ever gotten has been organic, and that's what we try to kind of push. But yeah, so it's like we're here. Everybody in here can help. The question is, will you? So let's make something happen, my love gangsters.
That's right. That's right. Yes, go out there and be a love gangster. So with that all being said, to close this out, we do a challenge every week to make sure that people are going out there, putting out random acts of kindness, loving other people. And what is your challenge for the week?
Because I like being fun and have two. So my first one is because I know people don't comment very much on people's posts. Like, it's definitely like think about it more. Yep. So I think it is like, go find someone who is running some kind of a cool organization, nonprofit, and support them by telling them the great work they're doing, right? Reach out to them. But my other favorite one, if you go to your contacts, so if I'm gonna go here to my phone, I'm gonna do what I call a roulette. So you just give it a good spin, and when you say stop, you're gonna land on it, and then now I have to, let's see, whoever I landed on. So perfect, I've got Deer Valley Mom. I'm not sure who that is, but I think it must be because I coach volleyball.
There we go.
But anyhow, I'm going to send this. I don't know who this person is. So if it's awkward, because that happens sometimes, you go 2 above, 2 below. So since I don't remember who this person is, I'll go down below. So Chris Delaney, I will send them a message, or I'll do an audio message and tell them why they rock. Right? So it's just kind of neat to like go back into your context if you haven't, but make it a gamified thing. But then it's easy for you to then have a conversation with your kid about who's actually in their phone. So it's called a photo roulette, or this one's called contact roulette.
Contact roulette.
And then there's photo roulette.
Oh, interesting.
Photo roulette is just so you can see if you're being safe. So if I go to all my photos, I do a photo roulette. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
I land on a picture, and now I have to explain myself of what this is.
Oh, that's
It's my niece in New York, because she goes to Fordham, and she found the picture of Aaron Judge.
There we go.
So she put a heart sign. But now, so you can have a conversation, but then if I swipe up for safety reasons, everything is time, dated, logged, and located, right? So my locations are on, and it tells me exactly where I was when I took this picture. There's an actual physical map of where this image was taken, right? And so the neat thing is you're teaching your kid about a footprint. If I text this to Adrian, all he has to do is save it, and he can then see exactly where I was when I took this picture.
That's right.
So it's making sure that your kids don't have when they're taking pictures at home of themselves, if you don't want locations on that end, right? So it's just a neat way to be able to have that conversation about what a digital footprint is.
How cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for the challenge. You guys heard it from her. Go out there, tell somebody that they rock, that they're awesome, that you love them, that you care about them, and that's your challenge for the week. So go do it, or you'll be swimming with the fishes, capiche?
I want to hear back from you guys in the comments. Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. I'm sure you'll hear more from Kim. And if you want, where do they find you? Where do they check you out?
Yeah, our websites are icanhelp.net or digitalforgood.net, whichever you remember the most, because everyone in here can help make Digital for Good.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys on the next episode. I'm Adrian Boysel, and as always, keep looking up.
Fill the void. I am love, I am peace, I am joy that can never be destroyed. I am love, I am peace.